If you are in the military, if you are in the profession of defending a country, be it at the very start level or at the senior most level, it is your dedication, it is your vision, it is your commitment towards the patriotic belief, the patriotic faith within your country. So, being in any kind of strata of your work profession, right from the trainee level to the highest level of defense command, it is that vision, commitment, zeal, and complete dedication to the purpose of protecting a nation, its lifestyle, its culture, its basic belief systems, the foundation of a nation. And that is the very essence of the work ethic. That's the very essence of the goodness of the profession of defense. Now, when we talk about defense, it's about protecting a nation and its borders. It's not just the borders alone, it is also the traditions, the lifestyle, the culture, the food habits, the aqua life, the trees, the environment. It's about protecting the basic belief of a nation, which holds the nation together, the fabric of a nation, which weaves across the belief system to make it a one nation. And as a defense professional, the commitment to defending a nation is the prime and the only zeal and the basic purpose which will be fulfilled in resonance with the source code of goodness of our earth. Let's replenish our earth. In terms of a country's defense into the future, it is very important for the armed and defense forces to be physically very active. They should have the best of abilities of the human body to its full potential. And that is why exactly the training systems within different military forces of the earth is present. Basically, the military forces of any nation is also to protect the country from vermin threats, from threats in terms of people, other countries trying to obtain the territory for ulterior motives, or trying to make inroads into the security of the country in terms of the goodness of a country's natural resources, the ability of a country to move through its international waters, the ability of a country in terms of its standing within the world. So a very strong defense system is absolutely a clear must for a nation. But what exactly do we term our military, our armed forces in terms of defense? We should understand it is a clear and specific word which we use in terms of our country's goodness in terms of military, and the word is defense. When we are defending a country, it means that we are protecting the goodness of a country. We are protecting the standing of this country within the international treaties, the international know-how in terms of science, technology, anything that has to develop in terms of goodness, abundance, in terms of trade, in terms of business, in terms of lifestyle of the citizens. You must know that when a country's military is powerful, it is able to work along with the energies of life within the country, which gives the country the best of oxygen, water, and every life system, which includes the rivers, lakes, the seas, the ocean, the mountains, the rain systems. All is all depended on a very strong defense force. Now, to be the best of defense force, what are the prime requirements to protect the natural goodness of every country, territory, which we term as a country in its whole sense? A defense force is a force of commitment. It's a force with a purpose. And when every person who is involved with the country's defense knows it at the core of his heart that he has a very clear purpose, not just in terms of the body alone or for the lifespan that we have on our earth. We must understand the inhabitants of a country has been there for more than tens and thousands of years. There have been evolutions of rulers. There have been different wars fought in the earlier times. And then at present, the country has evolved and there's a clear understanding of the purpose of a country. And the purpose of a country must primarily move with the source code of goodness of the oxygen that the country breathes, which means that the country should have the best quality of oxygen for all of its citizens, the best quality of water, which is the prime ingredient for a quality life of the citizens. The basic oxygen, which also makes water, is the primary source of goodness for us to survive, thrive, evolve, and prosper in terms of health, wealth, and spiritual goodness. So when we are defending our country, our basic sense of having a clear purpose with the source code of life of the universe, which makes it a very clear definition of protecting the territorial integrity of a country and the natural resources and the cultural heritage. Now, when we talk about cultural heritage, it means that we are protecting the knowledge that has been gained in terms of the history of a country. In certain parts of the world, there is enormous knowledge which is gained. And when we talk about specific countries within Europe, it is the knowledge that they have gained and the inventions that they have made. In terms of America, it's about the greatest of discoveries which has happened over the past 100 years in terms of modern evolution of scientific knowledge. In terms of the Indian subcontinent and the neighboring countries, it's about the greatest of knowledge systems which was available in the Vedas, the yogic culture, the discovery of yoga, which is used across the world as of now in terms of goodness and health and wealth and spiritual goodness. It's these three pillars which makes a country wholesome, and the Indian subcontinent should respect and uphold the culture of Ayurveda, which was the discovery of the best of herbal medications, cures for most of the diseases. Yoga, the lifestyle of yoga, which makes a country much more wholesome and will guide people into prosperity. It is no longer any kind of religious significance in terms of yoga. It is about your gratitude to the universal force and acknowledging the universal goodness of our soul and body along with the universal energies of life. When we talk about yoga, one of the first things which come to our mind is to respect the source code of our earth in terms of life, and that is the sun. It's through the sun's energy that photosynthesis happens, the trees, the plants grow, oxygen is derived to the citizens of the earth, and that respect for the source code of life, which is the basics of every religion on our earth. The earth is the gift from all of our faiths. Any faith that we follow, we understand the earth is a gift from that God which we believe, the universal source code of goodness. And we should respect that earth and every territory which is within that earth, which is for specific cultures to develop. And once we respect and enhance the cultures and the scientific discoveries along with our defense forces, we will be doing the greatest goodness in terms of our country to evolve and prosper into the future. The whole world, with a clear definition of a purpose with the source code of life, will be the greatest defense of our earth. We will exterminate the vermin energies, which is 0.001% of our earth. When we're talking about exterminating the vermin energies, it means that energies which create enormous diseases within the smallest of children on our earth as of now. We will eradicate the worst of diseases and disease-causing infectious microbes. We must understand that still, when we're talking about defending our earth, it's not about just doing good in terms of our ideas, in terms of everything that we believe in. It's also to negate the very energy which might work within a family and then transfer itself into a society and then affect the whole world. We have seen plagues which have happened and affecting the whole world because we've not taken action to that 0.001% area and the population and the kind of lifestyle of people which might have caused that vermin to erupt. We must be careful of certain vermin energies which affect our families, as we understand that the vermin energies can be so tactful that they will infect families and create diseases. And if we do not target and acknowledge that there is a vermin energy creating problems, if you're not able to identify vermin energies, it can spread in a small area just like the coronavirus and then move into the whole world. So we must also be very much careful and identify the vermin energies which affect the tiniest of population, the smallest of families. And once we identify that 0.001% of vermin energy, which is still a small percentage of people on earth, but still quite a number who does not respect a mother's first instinct. A mother's first instinct, as we know, is to protect the child, and that instinct is what helps humans evolve, thrive, and prosper, like it has happened in the past tens and thousands of years. Humans have thrived and evolved only because they were able to identify the negative extreme vermin energies which affect their families, the society, the nation, the world. And they were able to prosper because they dealt with those vermin energies through the law enforcement, through the government, through every administrative force, and then they were able to help the future generations thrive, survive, evolve, and prosper with health, wealth, and spiritual goodness. Let's replenish our earth. The future of defense of a nation, of a country, of oneself, and most important, protecting the territorial integrity of a country, along with the source code of goodness of life, which includes the oxygen, the water, and every life system, is to move our thinking along with technology, to move our defense systems along with technology. Every defense force of a country who is righteous and moving with the source code of goodness and the energy systems of the universe must develop the technologies along with the protective force of our earth. The life-giving force of our earth must be the cornerstone of our development of technologies, be it robotics, be it the best of armed systems. The lasers will be the choice of defense for armies and countries into the future. Humans must evolve with technology, deep learning, deep understanding. The protective force of a country must have all of the technologies embedded into their system of thinking. Now, as we see, we have technologies aiding a country's defense force, but once it is embedded into the system, they will be able to move along with technology in terms of defense. And as we've understood, any country which has a strong standing, which has a deep respect for itself, will develop the best of defense force. And the defense force is primarily not to be used. A country's defense force is not for offensive measures, although there might be occasions by which we have to go on the offensive to defend a country. But that should be along with a righteous calling, with the source code of life of our earth, the source code of goodness of the oxygen that we breathe, the clear water that we drink, the source code of life for every living being on earth must be our meditation in terms of taking clear decisions along with protecting a country's defense. Once we move with the latest technologies, be it the greatest of computer chips, the greatest of quantum computers, must enable our defense forces to move with technology in terms of the smallest of defense to the highest of defense forces, which includes any kind of technology which can help a country defend itself. And as we said before, defense is that dark energy within a country which is used to protect the future generations. If a country does not have defense, there is no future. And as humans, we must understand that everything about protecting our earth and moving with the natural systems of our earth is not about goodness alone in terms of ideas and creativity. Creativity in terms of defense should be the primary cornerstone of development of a country into the future, thereby enabling cultural advancement, the standing of a country, the respect of a country, the scientific discoveries, and moving with the source code of life, creating abundance in terms of health, wealth, and spiritual well-being to the citizens of a country with the right kind of knowledge. When the citizens of a country are healthy, not just by the food, not just by the health policies, not just because it's wealthy, but also because it has a strong defense force that makes a country truly one with the source code of life. Let's replenish our earth. There was a tortoise, lion, goat, and an ant. And then there was a human. The tortoise was having its life in between the land and the water in its own territory. It had its own purpose of life. in terms of cleaning up the ecosystem as well as contributing to the other creatures which were within its territory, if it was within the sea for a specific time or within the rivers, it would contribute to the ecosystems there in its own way. The lion was also within its territory, and in some way it was contributing to the basic ecosystem of life within the forest, within its own territory, within its own savanna, within the territory of area. If there was no predators in the apex, you would find grasslands eaten up and the ecosystem imbalance, which kind of reduces the system of survival for the whole of the species of life, which is dependent on the different predators and beings within the forest and within the lands. The ant had its own territory, and the ant was bothered about its lifestyle within its territory, which might be around maybe a maximum of 100 meters square, and it was more bothered about working along with other ants as a team. It was naturally conditioned by instinct to work as an ant and die as an ant, and it had its own lifespan and territory. The human also, which evolved around 10,000 and 25,000 years back, lived within the same territory. But it had moved out of the habitat of understanding that it was within an ecosystem, with the ability of creativity which made a human one with the source code of life. So one of the humans started to work exclusively for the benefit, moving into the areas of the tortoise, the lion, the ant, and also conditioning their ecosystems and creating sometimes an imbalance, and which in turn affects humans in some form or way. We must understand the earth as a whole, with all of its natural life systems, is a balancing force to keep every life system alive. If you're not going to respect the basics of life of our earth and the ecosystems, the birds, the animals, the forests, the trees, the rivers, the sea, the aquatic life, the life of the insects, everything in some way or the other is interrelated. And most importantly, it is also very important for us to maintain the basics of life for every human on earth, which includes food, water, shelter, and basic education. And the future of deep learning, the future of the computer chips, the future of the quantum computers, the future of our biological evolution in terms of technology will help us move with the source code of life, provided we give a clear emphasis towards moving with the source of goodness of the oxygen that we breathe, the water that we drink, and every good life system within us which keeps us alive. Let's replenish our earth. You find some of the greatest billionaires on earth not having enough money. They want more, and then sometimes many of them take enormous amounts of debts, and then they go in to make the fastest returns in different fields of investments, including the stock markets, including maybe oil, gas fields, or any other kind of potential income generating sources in the fastest spaces. And you find numerous examples of billionaires who have become bankrupt And not just bankrupt, they go into extreme minuses. Now, why does this happen? A billionaire has everything that he wants in terms of money, wealth, he or she. But why does humans have that kind of psychology? We must understand that once we have kind of enough, which is for a good lifestyle, which includes food, the best quality of food, the best quality of water sources, the best quality of residences that we live, places. When I say quality, it means which covers all of our basic needs and also keeps us in comfort. And also an education system which is along with the source code of life of our universe, which includes our own oxygen. And then a little bit of cash, which must be enough to carry us into the old age and also help our children. Once we cover these aspects, it does not take extreme income. It takes minimal effort and also effort along with the source code of life, of creativity, to create such an asset in terms of cash or wealth or property. But once this is crossed, our focus must be to work for the energies of life for the future generations. We can do things for our present self in our present world, but we must do things for ourselves with a greater realm of understanding of why we are on earth. The moment we focus on just our carnal desires in terms of ourselves alone, we will be negating the smartest, easiest, and the most profitable, if you may call it, the best possible way by which you can attain goodness for yourself, blessings for yourself on earth, which is to work in the present for the future. But again, let's go to the example of a person who just had enough in his life in terms of what we said now. And he had a little extra buffer cash to look him and his family into the old age. And also he kept certain resources for his children. And also he was working along with the energies of the earth. Compare his life with a billionaire who wanted much more, who was completely focused on himself. The billions that he got was through certain hereditary factors, transferred wealth, and also the money which came very soon without real effort. And you find many examples of billionaires across the world who have gone into deep troubles in life. Millionaires, billionaires. Now the person who just had enough and also was focused on a good life on earth by being in touch with the universal energies, worked on ideas, and he was able to develop his companies in terms of a good quality of life because he was working with the source code of his own oxygen. Any problems which came into his life, because he was working with a clear purpose to help the present generations and the future, those problems turned out to be a blessing in his life in some sense. It gave him more emphasis to work on his calling, which was to work with the energies of the earth. This should be our example. No matter what kind of income comes into our life, all we should be really bothered about is an income which helps us live in comfort and also gives us a buffer into the old age and for the children. And after that process, our entire being must be devoted to a clear purpose to work along with the energies of the earth. And when you have that kind of clear purpose in terms of working in ideas, in terms of working in work situations, you will prosper your life today. You'll prosper your family's life. You will prosper your children's life. And any problems, any kind of challenges which comes into your life will be for the better in terms of a future solution. On the other hand, even if we attain a billionaire status or a millionaire status without a clear purpose, it's only a matter of time when the force of the universe which sustains all life will negate the life which is not in resonance with the source code of his or her own oxygen. Let's replenish our earth. On the other hand, you find millionaires and billionaires who have stopped their lookout for more money. They have moved with the universal energies, if they like it or not, or in some kind of subconscious way. And they are doing things for the betterment of their own nation through a thought process by which they can contribute to the future and the present. And such kind of millionaires and billionaires, although they own the wealth is used in a broad sense for the good of the nation, the good of the society, for the good of the world. Although they might do it in a selfish way, so that they might earn a little more in terms of returns or in terms of financial investments and profits. Those kinds of investments, those kinds of knowledge systems, those kinds of mental thinking in the right way according to the source code of life makes the wealth grow much more efficiently. As we said, we know about the greatest kings on earth who had vast empires. They could command the best of gold from all across the empire, which covered nearly a quarter of the earth, and request their closest ministers to bring it within the next 3 days into his palace, which might be tens and thousands of tons of gold. But at the end of the day, what can a human consume more than high quality food, which nourishes the body, soul and mind, good quality of water systems, which nourishes the body in every aspect of the body, even for the greatest of kings or the greatest of billionaires. It is, our bodies are nearly 60% water in terms of the matter of the body, and the rest is matter, as we've understood. And our brain is 96% water, and the rest 4 to 5% is matter. So even for the greatest billionaires, millionaires on earth, it is high quality food, good quality water sources, a good comfortable living, security, which gives them access to the goodness of life, and the good energy systems around them, which includes the oxygen, water, rains, rivers, in an environment which they are safe and sound, and the best of educational system in terms of their access to technology and for their children. Now, apart from this was the basic gifts towards humanity of the natural force of our universe, the source code of life. Everything else for a billionaire and someone who is just having enough or living in comfort and who has kept the resource for the time when he or she might be old, and also maybe for his children. It's all about the attitude towards life. Your progress, be it in any stage, once you have the basics of life, you must concentrate on the energies of the earth which sustain life, and you will find even people who have started newborn companies, startups, who are completely focused on solving challenges, have the fastest way of growth, because people would move towards them with money, wealth, and everything that they require to have the best of companies, to work in the best of fields. Also, millionaires or billionaires who understand that the resource they have is a gift from the universal force in a broad sense for the time on earth which the source code of life has given them, and that ability of the money or wealth, when it's used in the right purpose, along with the source code of goodness of the energy systems around us, will create better wealth for themselves. Now, they might not own the whole world as how the emperors of the older times were. As we've understood, some of the greatest kings and most of the wars were fought because of carnal desires, as we mentioned before. The conquests were from Genghis Khan to the conquest of the Roman Empire and the expansion of territories was in the pure interest of humans for their carnal greed of the emperors and kings. But we understood as of today that that kind of thinking is not what the future holds for us. The future is about the best of intelligence, the general intelligence which is going to be superior among all humans, guiding humans, because humans have made it a point to develop technologies with the greatest of deep learning, which will help them with the energies of the earth. And you will have robots programmed by chips doing all kinds of work. And we do not need a segregation of society. You will have a large population of the earth working towards ideas, towards companies, and also having it within their mindset to work with the source code of life. Thereby, we are going towards health in terms of the quality of life systems the earth has given us, the quality of every life form which will be blessed and be enabled to grow in full prosperity in terms of health, which includes us humans. We'll also be able to get the best of wealth sources and the information system for the large majority of the population, and the rest of them who do not have, the governments will enable systems to keep them in comfort. Now we will also have spiritual abundance in the sense like people will be connected to the universal force of creation, and they will understand the very oxygen that they breathe is what powers their lives in goodness. And once they understand that in terms of the whole population of the earth, to a large extent, to a large percentage, our earth will move towards goodness for humans, because it will reciprocate the energies which humans is giving it. We will be educated in the right systems along with the greatest of learning and the deep learning chips and the quantum computers and the evolution of technology along with human biology. Let's replenish our earth. When an eagle takes flight, when a leopard moves in the fastest of speeds within the jungle and climbs the trees, when an elephant moves heavy weights and breaks down trees and the biggest of branches for its food, when animals go in sync with their muscle and the mind, it is not that anyone has taught the animals to move in the fastest of speeds at the greatest of ease, or for the leopard to climb the highest of trees and the toughest of trees in the greatest of ease, or for the eagle to fly in the sky, soaring in the wind, gliding in the wind as his home, and spotting the most tiniest of prey and zeroing in. Now, as we understand, this is not just achieved because the eagle wanted to learn, or the leopard wanted to learn, or the elephant who wanted to be educated about the same. This came as a natural instinct, and this natural instinct of coordinating mind, muscle, and every form is that subconscious instinct within animals, be it the eagle, the leopard, or the elephant. Or we can have other examples of animals who coordinate at the greatest of speeds, and which is the most amazing in terms of the natural life. The shark within the ocean, the beautiful fishes which are naturally colored within the ocean and which moves, adds color to the flora and fauna within the oceans. Now these are instincts which are built within these animals, creatures creatures within the oceans, fishes, flora and fauna, which has evolved over millions of years, and they've added to the beauty of nature. The moment we see a beautiful horse galloping, and I have seen certain videos of the most beautiful horses moving about in a group just beside the sea. It's a natural sight to see and go through the history of the horses and the civilization of human movement. So civilization in terms of kings, queens, the greatest emperors and empresses of the world who have expanded the territories using these horses. And these horses have been able to achieve a synchronization of muscle, movement and speed. Now, for us humans, this is something we should learn from. These animals have evolved and tuned their muscle, mind and soul with instinct to get better between each generations. But we as humans have the opportunity today to move in evolutions at the greatest speed. We can even move like the jaguar at the fastest speeds up the trees, or we can move down the oceans at the greatest of ease and at the fastest speeds, and also having all kinds of abilities than the best of fishes or the greatest of whales or the sharks. We can move on the ground using the latest of technology faster than any horses which have evolved over millions of years. Through the use of our technologies, we can move in the sky faster than any of the eagles and carrying greater payloads. Now this is the evolution of humans, and this evolution has occurred only because of the creative energy of the universe working in sync with the human race, and that is the exclusivity of the human race. Let's replenish our earth. The heritage of traditional medicine has existed in the world, and especially the Indian subcontinent is known for years of knowledge of yogic sciences from the Vedas, yoga, and most importantly Ayurveda. Ayurveda has been discovered, as we understand, more than 5,000 and more years ago, and it was discovered by the sages through experiments of different herbs. And we must understand that into the future, Ayurveda will have a very important significance in terms of health, ailments which can be cured through the process of Ayurvedic treatment. As we've understood that attitude is everything in life. The direction of your life is all about your attitude. Our attitude. We cannot blame anyone on earth for the life that we lead in terms of our attitude. And where does that attitude come from? It comes from the time when you were born. In whichever part of the earth we were born in whichever kind of surroundings we are born in, we create stories for ourselves, we create belief systems for ourselves, and that is imprinted in our deep subconscious. And the deep subconscious thought, the affirmative thoughts within the deep subconscious, which makes your life what it is now, is your attitude. So all of your actions and your are way of life, the spirit of life, the goodness or the bad luck or the misery or the joy of life will depend on the attitude. I will also say the strata of a life that we are living will also depend on our reflexes in terms of our attitude towards life. So if we go around blaming everyone else and have the worst kind of attitude or the wrong kind of attitude, there is no progress if we do not identify what is wrong with our direction in life. So the first thing is to take ownership of the attitude that we have. If the attitude is leading us into the worst kind of pits in life, and if our present lives is in the deep pit, let us not try and blame anyone else but ourselves, yourself, and the attitude which made us go into the deep pit. And where did that attitude come from? It is the deep thought, the affirmative thought, the clear belief within our deep subconscious, be it whatever nonsense it might be. Some people have the best kind of attitude in life, and that comes from the right kind of thought patterns within the deep subconscious. Many of us have rubbish attitude in life, an attitude which takes us deep into the pit, and that is because of the rubbish deep belief systems within our minds, the complete nonsense which we have created in terms of stories and belief systems within our minds. And if that is not addressed, if that part of our attitude is not addressed, if that part of our belief system is not addressed, if that part of our subconscious is not given clear rectification, no matter what we do in life, we will go into deep pits. So the first and foremost thing, and the only thing that we must do to start to rectify that area of our lives, is to change our attitude. And changing the attitude does not come easily. It comes from going into deep retreats and making it an clear effort over a period of at least 3 months with positive thought patterns. One of the best solutions to develop the right attitude, even if you are in the worst kind of situation in life, is 3 times of meditation during the morning, afternoon and night. We move into an area which is quite quiet, and even if we are seated, we dedicate ourselves for 5 to 10 minutes to begin with, and we envision a deep light filling our minds, moving into our bodies and to the tip of our feet, covering every part of our being, and then again from the tip of our feet back to the top of our head. You feel the white light moving into our being, and while doing so, you take a deep breath for at least a minute, and hold it. Hold the white light within ourselves, the white light of the goodness of the universe, the source code of life that gives us energy, the energy of the universe which sustains all of our cells, the energy of the universe which helps us breathe the oxygen as of now, which will keep us alive. Imagine that white light of life, of the source code of God, of all of our things, moving into us and filling every part of our being, every part of our cells. And during that 1 minute, while you release the breath, feel a complete calming effect of the white light in each cell of your body. By doing this, you will start to change the thought patterns. While you exhale, be grateful for the very oxygen that we breathe, which keeps us alive, the water that we drink, and the smallest gifts of life. And from that minute stage of gratefulness will be our first stepping stone towards greater goodness. This is the only thing we should do for the next 3 months in terms of moving with the source code of life and entering a new aura of abundance, a new aura of health, wealth, and spiritual wellness for ourselves, which will be only through our attitude. We cannot blame anything else in the world. Any kind of goodness, abundance, wealth, health, spiritual goodness, any kind of blessings from the Almighty is only because we have the right attitude with the source code of life. Let's replenish our earth. Sometimes the more you struggle in life towards a specific goal, the more you do not receive anything. And the more we go into depression, the more we go into deep pits. We keep struggling, we keep trying harder and harder. Again we go deeper into pits. This is a story of a lot of people, a lot of us. But why does it happen? On the other hand, we might see people who try not too much, but they are on the right track. And they are kind of successful. You find their lives being blessed. It's not being blessed and being happy in the normal sense of the word. They might also have problems, they might also have troubles, but at the end of the day, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel because they are with the source code of life. That's the only difference. Now, working with our carnal self is like cutting a tree with a blunt axe. If we try to cut a tree with a blunt axe, we can go and on for the next 1 year. But the only difference that you can make is being with the source code of life, which provides life to every being on our planet, in our universe. And that makes your axe the best machine cutting tool. It's the energy of life which gives you the power to move through any problems. The biggest of problems, challenges in our lives will turn out to be the greatest of solutions. And we will understand that it's not just for our bodies alone. Irrespective of our bodies in our earth, for the temporary lifespan, we will have a mark in terms of eternity. No matter what controversies come in your life, it will always be for the good, in terms of eternity, in terms of your contribution, because you're working in truth with the very oxygen that we breathe, which is the greatest machinery that you can have to go through life in the easiest of means. Let us not go through life with a blunt knife, with a blunt axe, and try for the next maybe 10 years, 15 years in hard turmoil and hard labor, going into the deep pits, because the foundation itself is the wrong foundation. We are with our own carnal desires. If you're going to build the biggest of house or any kind of idea on quicksand or on the water which will melt it, it's going to go down because you're not with the truth of life. The truth of life is the solid rock foundation, and the truth of life is your connection with the source code of life, which brings new ideas into the world today, which you serve your purpose along with the work that you do. You serve the future generations, and in doing so, our lives on earth are blessed today. Let's replenish our earth. 100 years into the future, nearly the whole of humanity came to understand that the fastest, easiest, wisest, and the only way they should lead a life is to be with the source code of life, which provides life to every being on earth, and which is also the oxygen that we breathe, and the water that we drink, and every life's form. And this information was passed on to the DNA and the core subconscious of human beings. And nearly the whole of humanity started to work along with the universal source code of life in terms of the deepest of learning, the greatest of understanding. All of the negative energies which would influence the world in a negative way and affect our own oxygen was minimized through therapy sessions which help the neurons of the mind connect with the universal force. There was a great expedition traveler, 100 years into the future. And he traveled in the best of ships, and the ship was not very expensive in the time that he was traveling. But the ship had the best of guidance systems, the best of abilities to move through the toughest of waves. It had the ability to draw the energy from the waves, from the wind, from the sun. And it was one of the most secure systems of travel. Now, this expedition of this one person and his friend, which also happened to be a woman, they had a wonderful time moving in the yacht, because the yacht was fitted with the latest of GPS guidance systems. They did not have to go as per the yachts of today, by which they will have to physically move the sails. The sails moved automatically with the wind, and there was a guidance system which would take them to the direction which they wanted to go along with the wind. There was minimum use of fuel because the wind was a source of power, the solar energy was a source of power, the waves itself was a source of power, and also the water from the seas was the source of the power. So they had multiple options of traveling across the world in the yacht. As we know, the modern yachts of today kind of completely depends on the sails and the physical activity associated with it. Also, the ship had the best of cooking facilities. It had robots. It had 3 robots within the ship, which was the cook, which would use to manage the ship in terms of its cleanliness, in terms of its laundry. The couple could concentrate on their lovely time together. They could exercise, they could watch the beautiful seas, and if they wanted to get something from the sea in terms of food, they could get it with the best of aqua life dishes, which they could cook for themselves with the latest of robots who were doing the cooking for them. Now, the yacht also had an ability by which it could also convert itself into a submarine if it needed to be, and go deep into the sea and then come back. This was all an ability of technology and deep learning systems which had advanced in the future, and the couple had a wonderful time together. They sailed to different islands, experienced the islands, and along with technology, they had the greatest experience of sailing on Earth, which is not available to anyone within the sailing community as of now on Earth. But 100 years into the future, the technologies were so evolved that everything about sailing was a wonderful experience. No matter how forceful the wind was, the yacht had the ability to protect them. There were compartments within the yacht, and the yacht itself was shaped in such a way that no waves could affect the inner parts. It was shaped more or less like a triangle which floated on sea, and no matter how fast the waves moved into it, the ship used to battle the waves, and in the most easiest of manner. Now, as they were traveling, they had encountered beautiful dolphins just beside the yacht. They moved at the fastest speeds. As they visited islands, they were able to communicate with any part of the world. And also help was not very far away, because the systems of such where if they required help at any time, they could just signal and help would be within a matter of 30 minutes to 1 hour from any part of the world. So they did not bother about traveling to any part of the world. Now, as they were traveling, they had one occasion by which there were some pirates, even 100 years into the future. Even the pirates were kind of equipped, and they were kind of amazed that 100 years into the future that there were pirates within the sea. They had thought that everything about the earth was not as serious in terms of crime, and they took it quite easy. But the pirate ship which came along was not a pirate ship in terms of the danger. It was one of their friends who had earlier gone on an expedition, who came up like a pirate ship to surprise them. So they got together as a party and they enjoyed the evening, because it was kind of a fearful surprise, but anyway, it was a naughty surprise for them in the middle of the ocean. And together they went into an island, and with the latest of technologies could cook, could construct houses very fast within those islands, and spend the next 1 month in those islands. The couple and their friends who came like a pirate in a pirate ship, not as the modern pirates of today. The people then had the ability to move with the source code of life, and people did not need to get into negative professions of thievery, pirate, or any kind of extreme criminal behavior, but they would do it as surprises, just to give a naughty goodness of energy, a naughty sense of well-being. We must understand that everything about life and joyfulness is to some extent being a little bit sarcastic or naughty or playful. Sarcastic in the positive sense, We must develop a sense of humor in life, because everything about life cannot be taken seriously. We must get into a state of positive sarcasm, a naughty playfulness, and that is kind of the essence of life. You see, any animals as of now, from the time they're kids, from the time they are extremely small, is a playful nature which creates a personality, and that playful nature should be along with the source code of life in the creative form. Humans and most animals into the future, and especially our breed of humans who evolve with the creative source of the universe, must evolve with playfulness, a naughty playfulness, to be creative. And we will get into the deepest of learning system. Our scientists are deepest of learning systems, the quantum computers, the knowledge systems of the future must work along with human playfulness to create new ideas into the future. We know that some of the greatest apps was developed in a sense of naughty playfulness to get into the creative sources, and the naughty playfulness was in terms of some of the greatest apps, which includes Facebook or even WhatsApp or even Gmail, who wanted to communicate, who wanted to know more about people, who wanted to connect with friends. And such naughty playfulness, along with the creative source of the universe, in terms of our ideas, in terms of the places we work, there must be a kind of exploration of new systems of gardening, new systems of infrastructure which flow along with nature, new buildings, apartments, new structures, the world's greatest structures, along with the creative source of playfulness to create new sources of architecture. Now, we do not have to be playful in our architecture in the sense that we are constructing it with the materials. The playfulness will be with the computers, with the initial phase of construction by which we design. And when the design is about inquisitive playfulness of creativity, we will create the best of systems, because any kind of creativity can only come from positive playfulness along with the source code of life. And that should be our mantra for evolution of the greatest systems of learning and the greatest of chips and the quantum computers and the overall general intelligence which will guide humans along with the source code of life. The advanced general intelligence will be the greatest source of inspiration for humans in terms of development into the future, once we focus that kind of energy of development of the greatest systems of learning and the advanced general intelligence, along with the source code of goodness of our world, of our earth, for ourselves and the future generations to come. Let's replenish our earth. The law enforcement 100 years into the future, or the police systems 100 years into the future, will be very efficient. There was a very bright young police officer who was newly recruited, and he joined the law enforcement force. And then during one of his first duties, by which he was moving in his law enforcement vehicle along with his team, he got information that there were a group of people 350 years into the future who were planning some devious activities. Now 350 years into the future, nearly 90% of humanity had the minds conditioned along with the universal source code of life, which brings us our own oxygen, and the thought patterns were on the positive side of creativity. But still there was 10% of the earth who were very devious and had dark energies, and they got information that there was a group of people planning extreme criminal activities, and the law enforcement officer, who was a new recruit, moved along with his team, and they were able to apprehend the criminals of those time in a very fast and efficient manner. But 300 years into the future, the law systems were about conditioning the mind. They understood that any kind of criminal, any kind of people with extreme carnal desires was an problem with the mind. And once they got understood that it was the challenge to bring the mind along with the source code of life. Now it did not mean that the extremely hardened criminals were forgiven of all of them. They were initially given the kind of treatment that needed to be given to extreme criminal people. But also during the time, they were taken to a therapy session, and usually within an hour's time, the advanced general intelligence, along with the greatest of computer chips, the quantum computers, were able to create waves within their minds so that their neurons within the brains started to connect with the positive energy, and the neurons started to change over a period of 1 year. And over a period of 1 year, they were able to condition most of the criminals who were extremely hardened into a new sense of neurons within their minds, which focused on the universal source code of life and creativity and working for the future generations. And 300 years into the future, the governments and the administration system provided nearly most of the citizens of Earth with a good quality of life of basic food, water, shelter, which was of the highest quality and the best for humans, and also an education system by which they could move with the source code of life. So no matter where the criminals were caught, the law enforcement officers, after the initial treatment within the stations or within their premises, the therapy sessions used to move their neurons along with the source code of life, and thereby most of the criminals across the world were able to be reconditioned within their minds to work along with the source code of life and bring abundance for themselves, their family, and get into a state of health, wealth, and spiritual well-being. Now, as we know that in today's world that is not possible. There is no therapy systems as such, but 300 years to 500 years in the future, it will all be about our thought process and conditioning our minds along with the source code of life. As we understand that with the greatest of developments in terms of advanced intelligence and advanced general intelligence, we cannot go into the dark way of thinking. The dark way of thinking, along with the greatest of advanced quantum computers and deep learning system, will cause extreme damage to humanity if it is encouraged. So the basic systems of law enforcement will be to change the neurons of the mind of every human being on earth to be along with the source code of goodness. And thereby we will find a new era of creativity among all humans, a new era of creative solutions for our earth, for our planet, for every living system, to be one with the source code of life of our earth, the source code of everything that we see around us, the goodness of our earth, the magnanimous blessings of our universe will be ours into the future and for the future children of our world. Let's replenish our earth.